It's Mr. Rip inside the drum cave, and I wanted to do a little makeup lesson because of all the bad weather days we've been having. So I wanted to give you uh, a lesson just to make up for all those times we missed. Let's start with the money beat. And we may have talked about this before, but I'm going to give you some tools on how to practice this and give you some assignments to make this cemented into your body so you can start playing along the music. So, couple defining terms. The money beat is just what I call it. It's a nickname I gave it because if you can't play it, then you'll never get paid as a drummer. Not that that is what you want. Sometimes we just want to learn to play music because it's fun. But it's also called the money beat because you listen to the radio and this is what all the hits are doing. You know, it's very simple beat. So it's also called like the basic rock beat or just a 4/4 beat. So here's how it works. We're going to count to four. 1, 2, 3, 4. The downbeat is always 1 and sometimes 3. 3 technically is also a downbeat, but when we say where's the downbeat, we're referring to 1. The backbeat is 2 and then sometimes 4 because our music, well, I guess modern Western music, meaning stuff we hear on the radio. If we went to Korea, or if we went to India, or went to like China, the modern music might be different. So we're talking about Western culture, modern music. And the backbeat is 2 and 4. The downbeat is 1 and 3. With that being said, we play the backbeat on 2 and 4 on the snare drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is when you put on some music and you clap along. This is where people mostly clap, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The downbeat is 1 and 3, right? Opposite. And usually we play that in the bass drum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can go ahead and do that with me now. And if you don't have a drum set, just stomp on the floor, right, with your right foot, and then hit your leg with your left hand or your right hand. Because when we play the drum set, it's set up in a way where your hi-hat is here on your left-hand side, and the ride cymbal is usually on the right-hand side. Most people are right-handed, and the drum set was invented from a right-hand person's perspective, and so they would play the ride cymbal on the right-hand side. Right? And then they started to come over to the hi-hat and play. So they just kept the hand the same, and then rock and roll started happening, and they just kept the hi-hat here. There are some devices that put the hi-hat pedal down here, but move the hi-hat over, and that's a whole nother thing. But for now, you could play either right hand on the hi-hat or left hand on the hi-hat, and that's just a choice, right? So the reason that I do it crossed is because I learned this way. Okay, so that's just how I learned. And I can still play it open-handed. I just choose not to when I'm playing hard stuff. Enough jibber jabber. Here we go. You're at home. Right hand on your chest. Left hand on your knee. Right foot on the floor. And let's leave the right hand out for now. You're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. Play with me. 2, 3, 4. Now, what will help is as you're doing this, count out loud. And the reason you want to count out loud is it is a feedback loop for your brain. When you go 1, 2, 3, 4, everything lines up with what you're hitting, then your brain reinforces that. If you go 1, 2, 1, 3, 4, then you know it's wrong and you start to correct. Okay. If you don't count out loud, then you will tend to lie to yourself and say, oh, yeah, that's right. That sounds right. When in fact, it's not. So we want to get better in less time. So please count out loud, even though it's a challenge. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to keep going. So keep playing with me. With your right hand, we're going to play the hi-hat. But before we do that, I want you to say what the hi-hat will play. And then we're just going to go that 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 that. So we're playing one dot with the beat. So dot 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 dot, and then one dot in between. Dot 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 dot. If you say it out loud, it'll be easier. We're gonna do it a few more times. Dot 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 dot. Now we can play the hi-hat. It plays exactly what we just said. Dot 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 dot. Now what you can do is say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now I admit that might not be super easy right away. So here's what we're going to do. Stacks and chains. A stack, when we stack in learning the drums, we're going to play one sound at a time. And that's kind of what we did. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then add the hi-hat to the bass drum. So no snare drum this time. So this is a stack. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If we could do that and count out loud. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Our brain starts to understand what it's supposed to do. Okay, what our body is supposed to do. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. We already could do the other stack. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so when you're practicing this on your own, stack them in, and then let's do the hand stack. So no bass drum this time. We're gonna go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, I would suggest that you do this outside of the video, but think stacks first. You're going to play 2 sounds at a time. We have hi-hat and snare drum, hi-hat and bass drum, or bass drum and snare drum. Those are the 3 options. And then you could try all 3. But usually what happens is when you try all 3, 1 and 2, you fall apart again. So practice 2 voices at a time. And then we're going to do what's called chains, like links in a chain. We're going to play everything that happens vertically. So on beat 1, what happens on beat 1? Hi-hat and bass drum. So we're going to go 1, and that's it. Now, there's the hi-hat that goes in between. So 1 and. What's on beat 2? The snare drum and the hi-hat. So we go 2. Okay, and let's go ahead and do 2 and. So 2 and. Now we could try to, those form links in a chain, we could try and link them together. 1 and 2 and. Cool? Do it again. 1 and 2 and. If this is still a challenge, you might have to say out loud, beat 1, hi-hat and bass drum. 1 and of 1, just the hi-hat. And beat 2, snare drum and hi-hat, no bass drum. 2 and of 2, just the hi-hat. And by announcing it out loud, your brain understands what's supposed to happen, and your body will try to make that happen for you. So, hi-hat, bass drum. 1, hi-hat, and hi-hat, snare drum. 2, hi-hat, and try to put it together. 1 and and 2 and again. 1 and 2 and. The trick is to go slow enough so you can relax between each stroke. A lot of students struggle playing this because they tense up their body or they get ready to play, but they haven't figured out what's next. So just go 1 and 2 and there's space between there and you can relax instead of winding up. Now, let's do it together. Slowly, we're going to do it 8 times. See if you could match me. Ready? 1 and ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And notice that 3 and 4 are the same as 1 and 2. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and stay nice and relaxed. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and last time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and stop. All right, we did it. That's the money beat. Now, bonus, if that was easy and you made it this far and your patience, let's play a little bit faster, but we're going to play it with some music. So I use GarageBand to do a lot of practicing with. If you have an iPad, GarageBand is free. I don't think there is an Android version of GarageBand, but there are Android versions of beat makers and music makers. And so all I'm doing is just finding some kind of music thing that I don't have to really do a lot of input. So this is the live loop section of the GarageBand. And if I play this, I just hit a button. It'll start to play this beat, and I can change these buttons. These are just random loops that I'm hitting. Now, what I like about this is that I could change the tempo. So that was at 90 beats per minute. I can just go into settings and I can say I want to play it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. That's like 67 beats per minute, right? So we're gonna, and I'm also going to just play not all the sounds that are on there. So I'm gonna say, let's hear this little. That beat, that sounds good. Let's add a little bit of a weird Wurlitzer. All right, maybe this little funky synthesizer thing. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Check this out. All right. That last little bit is what we call a fill. And it's just something that drummers and all the instruments will do this. They add a little bit of something like an improvisation towards the end of a phrase or in the space of the singer or the space of someone else. So we get more into fills as our lessons go on. But right now, practice on the money beat. Okay, that's what we're practicing. And I'm going to give you a few other things to work on until we meet again. In our snare drum book, step one, there's a bunch of rights and lefts written all in there. And the purpose of that is just to get our hands in sync with themselves. There's a bunch of combinations you can do, what we call stickings, and that's what all step one is. So number one is just 8 on a hand. Pretty simple, but your job is to play both hands the same height and the same sound, and you want them even in tempo. So at first, your assignment is to pick 3 lines per day, play them 5 times in a row without messing up, and try to just keep them even. Okay, and I'm going to write this down in the email that comes with this video. But pick 3 a day, 5 times each, as even as you can. You might have to do it more than 5 times in order to get 5 times in a row without messing up. Okay. Then let's say after a few days, I want you to add reps. So you're going to do 10 times in a row. And then I also want you to add different tempos. So we're going to use the metronome or use the iPad with the GarageBand on it or some other kind of music you can play to your favorite song. And let's say we're playing to this little groove that I made up here. So I could play in tempo, number one. Okay. You can also combine 1, 2, and 3 to make the exercise 8, 4, 2, 2. Because what that means is 8 on a hand, then 4, then 2, then 2 again. And in your book, there might be a line that I drew in there that doesn't play the half of number 2 and number 3. And so that would be 8, 4, 2, 2. And I'm going to do that with this song here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8, 4, 4, 2, 2, 2, back to 8. 4, 4, 2, 2, 2, and stop. Pretty easy. Now, 8422 is designed just to help our right hand and left hand get closer together and sounding like a team instead of one hand sounding really dominant and the other hand sounding really wimpy. Now, some of the other ones on here are actual rudiments, and a rudiment is just a drum thing, right? It's what makes drums so unique. Piano and guitar, they have chords and melodies, and we drummers have rudiments. So it's all the different ways we can hit a drum. Paradiddles is one of those rudiments, and that's number 6. And it's just paradiddle. So every time you say diddle, it's that hand twice. Paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. Again, you're going to play that with the music. What if that's too fast for you? Then you're going to go half the speed. And the point is to try to get both hands to sound the same, to look the same. Or faster. Now, you might not be at that speed yet. And it's not because you can't play fast, it's because you haven't learned the pattern yet. So all of step 1 are just these little patterns that you have to play enough to remember, to memorize, so that you don't have to worry about which hand are you playing, but instead you can focus on building your speed. So for the next couple weeks, step 1, pick 3 lines a day, play them very slow for 5 times in a row. After that feels easy, start playing them to music and try to up it to 10 times in a row. And then if that's easy, you could try different tempos. So uh, maybe you try slow, medium, and fast, and you work on extending them for up to a minute or even 2 minutes. When I practice this stuff, I will usually do it for 3 minutes, and then I will do something with the feet as well, just to make it extra complicated. For example, just so you know, I might do what's called walking feet, playing my hi hat and my bass drum while I play paradiddles. And then I try a different tempo. So that's like adding another layer, which we're not ready for yet. So, money beat, step one, and then play to music. Okay. Make sure you're writing down a list of all the songs that you want in your notebook to play, and we will learn them over time. So I hope this lesson was good. I hope it keeps you going until we can meet again. And I'm so sorry about all the bad weather that we've had and the missed opportunities. So please come back. I can't wait to see you when we come back from spring break. Bye bye.